So I shared with you, we take ownership, we're accountable to each other, we don't hide mistakes. Okay, there's one more that I think is really important, and that is number 6. I mean, they're all important, okay? But number 6 is we are mission-based in what we do, okay? We believe we are the biggest, baddest entrepreneurs in the healthcare space, okay? And that's something that we recite together. So when I say mission-based, I think that's really important because, the reality is I don't need to do a podcast today, but I believe that I'm operating a mission. I believe I'm operating a mission. And when you believe that you are assigned to do a calling, that you have a calling on your life, you believe that everything that you do, that God has his hands on it. And this is not a job for me. This is a mission. And I have to do this podcast because somebody needs to hear what it is that I'm going to say today. I believe that what I'm saying right now is going to affect one of you in such a profound way.
This is Secrets for Success.
Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Today, I want to talk about your core values. Do you even have any? And if so, do you just say it or do you live it? Or both, hopefully. And that's what I want to talk about on today's podcast. So I want to kind of set this up a little bit for you. Okay, let me give you some context right now. The context is that it is currently 9:30 p.m. This podcast on Monday. This podcast is released usually at 6 a.m. on Tuesday. And here I am, and I don't have a podcast. I don't have a podcast to release on. I'm doing it right now. And so, as I came downstairs, my wife's like, well, what are you going to talk about? I was like, I don't know. Let me figure it out as I go down. But I was like, you know what? Why don't I share with you all kind of the context of what's going on right now? Like, why am I doing a podcast at 9:30 to release in less than 9 hours? Okay, so here's the deal. I want to talk about core values because I believe that right now we are living out our core values, okay? We have 10 core values that I recite to my staff every Monday when we have our meeting, and that I recite to my clients that I coach at a high level, whether it's our inner circle or our platinum mastermind. And it's not just something that I want to recite for people. It's something that I use as a standard of how I do life and how I live every single day. Or at least that's my attempt. And it's so cool because these standards are being displayed right now. Okay, so here are some of our commandments. We have 10 of them, but I'm going to just kind of reel off a few that I'm living out right now. So number 1 is we take ownership. Number 2 is we are accountable to each other. Number 3 is we don't believe in hiding mistakes. Okay, I can go through the rest of them, but the other one that I want to share is that we are mission-based in what we do. Okay, so why did I share 4 of the 10 commandments with you all right now? It's because, if you're struggling with keeping staff, with retaining staff, and with getting people to work for you, let me explain something to you. Do people know what you stand for? Like, is it very clear that you should be attracting a certain group of people and repelling others? Because what I have really come to realize is that, people want to be with someone that actually stands for something. And so let me just explain how it's not only important to have core values, but it's important to live them out, okay? So, ready? I'm going to set up this scenario. As I told you, it's 9:30 at night. This is released at 6 a.m. Tomorrow morning, all right? So let me just kind of set the scene. I just came back from South Florida, okay? I was there for Thanksgiving weekend, and I did not record a podcast before I left. I recorded the podcast for last week, but I didn't record a podcast for this week. So number 1 is take ownership. Whose fault is that? Is that anybody's fault but mine? That's my fault. Okay, so I'm taking ownership, okay? I'm taking ownership of not recording a podcast. Okay, great. All right, now, here's the next part. So about 15 minutes ago, I get a text from Brittany. And Brittany says, hey, remember you said you were going to do the podcast today. Where's the podcast? She had set up the podcast room for me to do it, but I wanted to get home. I told my wife I was going to be home at a certain time so we can have a little date. We can go to Target. We needed to get some stuff for our retreat center because we're hosting clients this weekend. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do the podcast. And I told Brittany, I'll do the podcast when I get home at some point. She's like, okay, cool. But it's 9 something. And she's like, where's the podcast? When you say you're going to do something, you got to do it. And you know what? She's holding me accountable. So that's number 2 in play. Be accountable to each other. Okay. Number 3 is we don't hide mistakes. There's no, oh, well, I don't, no. There's no hiding mistakes. Like, okay, I messed up. I didn't do the podcast. And by the way, my wife and I went to Panera Bread, and I told my wife while I was at Panera Bread, I was like, hey, while we're waiting for our food, I'm going to go outside and do a podcast episode. Okay. She's like, okay, yeah, for sure. Go ahead. And then I got sidetracked and I didn't do it. So here we are, and we're doing it now. Here, this is another one. So I shared with you, we take ownership. We're accountable to each other. We don't hide mistakes. Okay, there's one more that I think is really important, and that is number 6. I mean, they're all important, okay? But number 6 is we are mission-based in what we do, okay? We believe we are the biggest, baddest entrepreneurs in the healthcare space, okay? And that's something that we recite together. So when I say mission-based, I think that's really important because, the reality is I don't need to do a podcast today, but I believe that I'm operating a mission. I believe I'm operating a mission. And when you believe that you are assigned to do a calling, that you have a calling on your life, you believe that everything that you do, that God has his hands on it. And it's not just, this is not a job for me. This is a mission. And I have to do this podcast because somebody needs to hear what it is that I'm going to say today. I believe that what I'm saying right now is going to affect one of you in such a profound way that it's going to change the way that you do business for the remainder of 2024 going into 2025. See, I'm running a mission. I'm running a mission. You guys, it's not enough to just have core values. It's not enough to just speak whatever it is that you want to say. You have to live it out. And I'm like, wow, I'm actually living it out right now. At 9:30 p.m., down here on my patio, my neighbors are probably like, dude, go inside. But no, this is it, and I don't know. I just think that's important that you guys stand for something, that if you don't have core values, maybe this is a great time for you to say, hey, what are going to be my core values? Okay. What is it that I'm going to stand for? What is it that I'm going to believe in? What is it that I'm going to have as my code for how I live? Okay. And so anyways, if you want to know mine, I can tell you, them all, but you can reach out to me and I'll tell you what they are. But, I went through, it's really cool because I shared with you guys the, taking ownership, being accountable to each other, don't hide your mistakes, and being mission-based. And I'm like, wow, those four values of my 10 made me come downstairs and do this right now. So that's why I say you got to live to a certain standard, have a set of values and live by it and mean it and do it. Anyways, I hope this helps you, and hopefully you won't see any more of these podcasts. I'll actually be on time on my next one. All right. Much love to you guys. Until next time.
That was easy.